You're... Stop, please don't. Giselle! Not actually. Please. Don't say it! Hello and welcome. I'm Ashmax, and once again we're playing the house in Fata Morgana. It's been quite a while. I'm actually running late on getting this one out and up on the channel. I have been busy and I can't actually think, I can't remember what I've been busy with. But either way, I have been neglecting the house in Fata Morgana, and it's time that I continue the story of Giselle and Michel. So let's just get into this. Let's go to inspect your memories. The blood of the Holy One. Now, if I remember, I'm trying to remember in the last playthrough, we continued the story of the witch, and we came across some characters. So we came across how the witch had died in the end, being kept in the tower of what I believe is the mansion now, by a king. And so the three characters in the stories that we have been in so far, and for the life of me I can't remember. I know Jacopo was the capitalist, so I believe he was the king equivalent. The beast, whose name, he was a merchant or something in the story, but he was also a beast. I believe is the swordsman who massacred a bunch of slaves, having just freed them because he felt like it. Truly living up to his name. And a younger boy who betrayed her in the end to try and save his sister, who I believe is the brother of, I remember Mel. I believe Mel represented as that person. Nellie being his sister who was ill. So they all really betrayed the witch in various ways and caused her grief. And on top of that, the witch had a pretty shitty life to begin with. And on her death, she cursed everyone. And because that's what it was. They were using her blood because she was a quote-unquote saint. And was it saint that they called her? Who had a supposed miracle cure, blood that could cure all ailments. They were using that, and for some reason it kind of worked. So like the brothers, the boy or the young man, Mel, Mel in his original form, he was using, they tried to use her blood. She willingly gave her blood to see if it would work, and it seemed to temporarily work in some sort of way. And so they kept doing that, and then that's when the king and the swordsman came across them. Which is all kind of odd, because the witch acts as if she didn't think her blood really did much, but there was some sort of coincidence where it seemed to appear to help, though it might have been a placebo effect, I don't know. And here we are. I think we had came to the end of that story, and then we had came back to what is effectively the present in the story, with Michel trying to crawl up the stairs of the tower upon which the witch had originally died alone. I remember a story actually that was told by the girl with the white hair, and it might have been in the first part of the game, the first story with Mel and Nellie, where she talked about being encaged in a tower and only being able to see a small window up above. Her father supposedly had trapped her in a tower. There's some weird story around that. I don't know if it was a story her father told the white hair girl or something. There was something, I remember reading that at some point, and I believe that referred, or maybe that was an unsubtle hint to what happened to the witch. But anyway, enough waffling. I'm going to switch to full screen. Let's get into this. Got my cup of tea here as well. This time, when my body crashes into the tower's stairs, I'm unable to make a noise. The obstruction is less mental and more physical. The excruciating pain. It's so intense I can't even eke out a scream. My vision is distorted, my mind thick with fog. I feel like I'll fall into a bottomless pit if I loosen my grip on my consciousness even slightly. Through the haze, I see my own severed left arm. Reflected in a pool of blood, I see my face, large chunks of flesh peeled off. Look at you trying to crawl up those stairs like a worm. How pathetic. It's like I'm looking at my old self. I can barely form a coherent thought. I can't lament her inhuman fate, can't mourn for her, or be shocked by the revelation about the 3 men and her history with them. Pain. It fills every corner of my mind, every nook and cranny of my body. You've figured it out by then, haven't you, my dear? You'll never make it to me. It's not possible. But it's not your fault. It's not because you're weak. There's simply no one who can bear this pain. You're allowed to give up, to rest. There's nothing wrong with that. The pain, the crushing weight, it's miserable, isn't it? But all you have to do is turn back, and it'll all go away. The witch whispers her sweet temptations. You've put in a fine effort. There's no shame at all in throwing in the towel. Her voice is soft, gentle, pleasant, saccharine. Concede defeat. If I do, it will all go away. The searing pain spreading from the stump of my left arm. The sensation of being perpetually drained of my blood. The miserable solitude of staring at a door that never opens. The laughter I can hear through the window. My miserable wailing and this maddening hatred. I can end it all. That's right. It will all be over. You have the power to make it stop. Make it all stop. No! I can't let that happen. No, I have to get her back at my side. I'll do anything to take her back, even if it means I end up 1,000 tiny scraps of meat. I will not give up on her for any reason. You won't, will you? Oh, such beautiful resolve. Willing to sacrifice yourself to save the girl? Like a hero of legend? Or maybe a fairy tale prince? No. I am no hero, and I am no prince. I am a human, an ordinary man. I don't have any extraordinary potential. I'm not a courageous leader or a charismatic general. I'm just a regular man. In love with a regular woman who refuses to lose her. I don't need any other accomplishments. Only that. That's all I need. Because I'm just a regular man. My one act of resistance. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter how much you cut me up. Nothing changes what I have to do. I have to take her back and set her free of this mansion. Nothing else. And never will I back down on that. arms or no. As long as I can move, I must push forward. I must make my way to the woman who waited for me for so long. Up to the top of the tower. Forward. Ever forward. Ever onward. Wow. Dragging my bloody body, paying the pain no mind, I once more arrive at the top of the observation tower. I place my hand on the door, holding myself up with my lacerated right arm. Take a moment to catch my breath. Then lift my head. Gaze into the void and shout her name. Morgana! I pity you. I truly do. You are a saint shackled with an unfathomable fate, and for that I am enraged. As I felt your pain, as I watched your life, I too felt a burning hatred for those three men. If you truly feel that way, then why can't you stay here with me? We're all dead anyway. We've reached our ends. Do you honestly think there's anything more for us? There isn't. The end is the end. So what do you say, the three of us? Me, you, and Giselle. Torture the three of them and everyone they cared about. Make them suffer here for all eternity in this house. And that way you and Giselle can be together forever too. That's not an option. Why not? Because hatred only brings you pain. Ha! Oh, that's brilliant. You spouting stupid platitudes at me? I can't believe my ears. Save your nonsense moralizing about how hatred does you no good. I won't hear it. I'm doing just fine for myself, my dear. In fact, I've never been better. I feel wonderful. Did you think that would be enough to persuade me? Really? Ah, how disappointing. And here I thought you understood me. Morgana, why don't you say what you really think? Go right on ahead, hate them as much as you want, but keep me and Giselle out of it. Why didn't you just say that? I do feel bad, truthfully, for all the time we spent together. Never once did I ask about your life. I was so focused on myself, and in the end, I pushed you away. That you did. You wanted to be with Giselle, so you pushed me out. I wish I had asked you sooner. It wouldn't have changed anything, though. One puny man knowing what I went through would hardly be enough to erase the loathing I bear. It would have turned out the same, regardless. There was nothing you could have done for me. There is nothing. Still, I would like to apologize. Had I known what you carried in your heart, perhaps I could have chosen my words better. Instead of rejecting you, I could have chosen some other response. I cannot remain in this house, nor can I allow her to stay either. So I would like to apologize for both my past actions and my present. Well, in that case, open the door, Michel. I take another moment to catch my breath, and then I gather my strength into the hand on the door. Blood seeps from my fingertips, slowly trickling down the rough surface. It reminds me of my death. I'm coming for you. I push open the door, praying that it will be the last. That beyond it lies light for Giselle. And if possible, that it might cast a bit of light on Morgana's heart as well. What? However, why am I in my bedroom? What I find behind the door is the last thing I expect. Huh? As she appears from the shadows of my chambers, I can't conceal my surprise. Giselle? Is this another illusion, Morgana? No, it's not. I am the real me. Thank you for coming all the way here for me. Oh, I can't remember the voice I gave for Giselle. It's been such a long time now. She's thanking me. So why isn't she smiling? That was very kind and courageous of you, Michel. I'm deeply moved you would have such compassion not only for her, but for someone like me. But do you know what else you are? You're a worm. What is it this time, Morgana? What do you say we pull back the curtain, my dear? What curtain? There's one detail that hasn't yet come to light. Oh, there was something hinted at towards this in the last, before as well, and I was kind of wondering what it might be. There was a picture that was torn, damaged or something, a painting, a picture in this bedroom, and when asked about it, when Giselle asked Michel about it, he went mental, and that's what sparked her running away at that point. And he never really explained what that painting was about, or that picture. I wonder if this must be to do with that. This isn't your first return to the mansion, is it? You've been back numerous times. Each time not remembering her, and each time hurting her even more. What? What are you talking about? What am I talking about? Oh, you know good and well, my dear. Or do you honestly believe that all of the other pieces were in their rightful places, and you alone were some exception? I never. Tell me, how was it? Living in so many different eras, not knowing who you were. And playing with all the different men. What? Michelle was the girl with the white hair then, which is what I was wondering about, the similarities with the red eyes and the white hair. Which is why Giselle was attracted to the girl with the white hair, and every time would ask her and thinking that she was Michelle, and so that was what, right? No, you're out of your mind. You make it sound like I was. Not like, my dear. You are the white-haired girl. Why did I not suspect this sooner? Enough! How could anyone possibly confuse me with her? To tell you the truth, I couldn't see you as anyone else. Your white hair, red eyes, porcelain skin, and your name. Tell me, what about you isn't the same? We're not the same person. I'm a... I saw the letter. What? I've got a feeling I know what this is all hinting at, and I'm like, kind of surprised by this, as even though I shouldn't. What the fuck? Let's see where this goes. Let's see if I'm right in my suspicion. The one you had hidden? No. And you didn't think that was worth mentioning? No, Giselle, I didn't mean... You're exactly right, my dear Giselle. He deceived you. He kept a very important secret from you. Despite showing up before you multiple times, he cast you aside again and again. No, that wasn't me. It wasn't. It all makes sense now. Nothing you ever did was for me. Wait, what? Giselle, I... Go on, Giselle. Tell him exactly how you feel. Michel, please don't say it. Not that, please, I'm begging you. Stop, please don't. Giselle! Not actually. Please. Don't say it! A man at all, are you? This is blowing me away. I suspected this with the picture, and I think I said so, but I don't know why I almost willfully just put it to the side and thought, nah, that couldn't be it. But I did kind of suspect something, but it was like... Giselle saying this? What? Oh man. I feel like I should have mentally prepared more before starting this up. You're disgusting. You're the only one it could have been, my dear. The only one who could have been the white-haired girl. The next moment, my whole world comes tumbling down. I could have borne anything. Losing my arm, having my face torn off. Any amount of pain, I could have handled it. For you, I could have done it. But this, hearing those words coming from your mouth, being rejected by you, that I cannot. Those words, they bury me alive. And you're the one person I never wanted to hear them from. I'm just gonna take a moment there and sip a cup of tea. Man. I felt that in my heart, seeing Giselle say that. I don't know why that I felt that in my heart as well. Oh, rejection from Giselle after all of this. Oh. When I learned my father Antonin had passed, I wrote 2 letters, one to my brother and one to my mother. It was the first time I had found the courage to face my mother, to open up to her. I wanted to show her who I was, convince her that I wasn't cursed, so I could be myself when I returned to the capital with Giselle. Dear Mother, there is something I wish to tell you, something that means a great deal to me. So I ask of you, please hear me out, and I ask of you, please accept it. Mother, I no longer bear any resentment for my present lot in life. Nevertheless, I would ask of you to concede one thing, that I was never cursed, that I was always your son, that I am Michel, not Is it Michel, not Michel? I think I've been pronouncing these wrong. I'm gonna say that I am Michel, not Michel. I'll use Michel from now, because I think I used Michel from the beginning as well. I have found someone whom I care for deeply. A woman. And I love her with all my heart. I would like to spend the rest of my life with her. I do not wish for much. Simply to have a quiet life with her. To go through our days together, man and woman. That is the one thing I want. Mother, I know you're aware that my body is no longer a female. Huh? What does that mean? Like, I assumed where they're going with, like, Michel was born a woman and it's now but identifies as a man, but something, what's this, is no longer female. I am a man. My heart, oh, maybe this is how it's going. My heart is male, and I ask of you to please accept that. I have no grudge with you. In fact, I am incredibly grateful to you for bringing me into this world. With love, your dearest son. Shortly after sending that letter, I was killed. Oh, so he sent that letter to... So Miguel sent that letter to his mother. And after that is when the men came... The men came for the girl, did they not? They came for Giselle, did they not? And Miguel protected her. Because they were talking about the witch. I'm dragged down, against my will, into the darkness. Beneath me spreads my own past, my door. The door I swore never to open. But despite all my efforts to resist, the door sucks me into a world I never wanted to see again. A history I never wanted revealed. A past I never wanted anyone to see. Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps. Nonetheless, the door opens. Is this the final door? The real story, or the story behind Michel? The seventh door. $10.86 question mark. There were two things out of the ordinary about that baby. The first, its parents embraced, and the second, they wholly rejected. Although, it was some time before the baby's second peculiarity emerged. And until it finally did, no one was any the wiser, not even the child itself. Its mother surely enjoyed that brief period of happiness before her child finally realized the truth. Oh? Blind to the fact that the moment it had let out its first cry, everything came crashing down. To this day, she still doesn't know the child she gave birth to. What? That she'd let loose a curse upon the world. A curse that turned angels into demons, humans into witches. I'm so confused. What? So there was something about him, about Michel as a baby, that caused issue. Oh god, Antonine, asshole. I can't remember what voice I gave him. My god, look at that. There's Liddy. She's beautiful, isn't she? Have you seen her laugh? Not yet, I haven't. At any rate, that colour certainly is something else. God's gift to us. No, she's an angel sent from heaven. An angel? Ah, yes, I can see it now, Liddy. Her white hair and almost translucent skin. It's beautiful. My, she opened her eyes. Okay, I'm assuming that red eyes and white hair, not common in the family. Maybe she felt you nearby. Do you like your father more than me? Is that it, sweetheart? Gorgeous, aren't they? Such a deep, enchanting colour. Like two little jewels. Ah, that they are. A magnificent shade of red. I've never seen anything like it. And this is our child. Yeah, I mean, as a father, if I didn't have red eyes and white hair, and the mother didn't have red eyes and white hair, I would be pretty suspicious. She's special, I can feel it. I mean, the mother should be suspicious as well, to be fair. We have to take good care of her. Let me remember, in the first story with Mel and Nellie, it turned out, or the story for the white-haired girl was that she was the half-sister of Mel, which was the twist in the whole thing. What had happened was her mother was Mel's mother, and she had had an affair with one of the painters, the portrait painters, who had white hair and red eyes. And as soon as she was born, they realized that, I think the mother realized that she could not pretend that this is, which is a horrible thing to do, but pretend it was her husband's child. And that's how the girl with the white hair was raised by her father. I wonder if this is going to somehow tie in, like the stories that we've heard so far, the supposedly made up stories that feature characters that have hurt the witch, that also feature the white haired girl, who we now know as Michel. Do they all tie into what really happened in the past, and they're like reconstructions or hints towards what happened in his past, I wonder. Anyway, enough waffling. She needs a name, one that's just as special as her. Have you already chosen? Anthony. You were the one begging for a girl. You do it. Besides, I already had to rack my brain for the boys' names. Now it's your turn. Are you really going to let me? My, that's quite a lot of pressure. Name her after an angel, then. Oh, I like that. All right, then. We'll call her Michel, after the Archangel Michael. Maybe it's a... So she said Michel, is it Michael? I'm gonna go with Michel Michael for anyway. You'll grow up to be beautiful as an angel, my Michel. I've always wanted a little girl. So she must be the first daughter of the family. With her snowy white hair, skin so pale you could see the veins beneath it, and her ruby red eyes. She was a very, very peculiar looking little girl, and her mother showered her with love. She truly believed her daughter was an angel sent from above, born as a human child. The blessed babe, born a girl, was given an angel's name. Michel. Me. I mean, very pretty. I mean, I always thought Miguel looked very pretty. Then again, I don't need to be a girl to be pretty. So anyway, check. What the fuck? Checkmate. Should I give? Ooh. Wait, he's got white hair as well. So have they all got white hair? Or is this just because of black and white? Look at this dude with the scars though. What is this? Didier? Gah! I see that's what you did. Curses, I completely overlooked that. I thought you were advancing with your pawns, but that was all a diversion. You're too short-sighted, Didier. I don't know what voice to give Michel. Same voice? You need to look at the big picture. Sometimes it's a tactician and not the soldier holding the sword. Ooh. Ha! You got me. You're quite good at this, Michel. What inspired you to take such an aggressive strategy? It was not an inspiration. It was derivation. Whoa. Smart person. Rational. Derivation? Chess is in many ways similar to real war tactics. Ah, my military texts. You haven't read all of them, have you? I have nothing but time. Impressive! Even I haven't read all the books in my room. You planning to join the order with that kind of knowledge? You jest. You're the one who's going to be a knight today. Ha! That I am. War is the men's... What? War is the men's job after all. I want you to be there to welcome me home. Psst. Oh, George's? Wait, he's got fucking brown hair. Who's this guy? Look how, like, thingy his face is, like, really kind of like, I don't know. Looks really dead cheery. Didier, oh Didier, I'm in a bit of a bind. Oh hello there, Michel. I didn't know you were home, Georges. Just got back, yep. Oh, playing chess again, are you? Let's see, what do we have here? Get away from the board! Yikes, you got trounced, huh? And you call yourself her big brother? Oh, so this person is not related. As if you're any better? It's not funny, Georges. I cannot approve of someone who can't keep up with the flow of battle becoming a knight. Given our family's rank, you would eventually be put in charge of other soldiers. Wait, is Georges part of the family? Or did he... What? What? Are you worried about me? No, I'm saying... I've been blessed with such a caring sister. No, I think she was saying... I think Michelle was saying that you shouldn't be in charge of soldiers because you suck. Is he gonna... I've been blessed with such a caring sister. But fear not. I have a guardian angel after all. Okay, I'm beginning to see the... This is gonna get tiring. This must be tiring really fast for Michel. Where's the logic in that? Sorry to interrupt your moment, but... Does nobody listen to me? These guys seem to be pretty dense, man. I don't know why they're not listening to what you're saying. Haha, now, don't pout. So, what seems to be the problem, Georges? Ah yes, listen to this. The Royal Court is holding a swordsmanship show. And for some reason, I was selected to participate. How unfortunate for you. I can already see you on the ground sobbing. Hey now, that's just me. Besides, my hands weren't meant to hold a sword. Look at these dainty fingers. They're covered in calluses. Dainty calluses? Wait, what's he been up to? Tell me, why would they have an artist's sword fight? That's the whole point, I would think. No need to get so worked up. No one's expecting you to win. Maybe not, but we do have a name to worry about. We do have a name. So wait, are you one of the brothers? And you know what that means, don't you? I'm going to lose, that's a given. But I want to do it in style. I feel bad for your sword. Oh, don't be like that. Now come on, time's a-wasting. To the courtyard we go. Just so you know, if I train you, I'm going to train you right. All I want to know is how to look good. What is it, Michel? May I watch? Fine with me, but you know you can't go outside. Wait, why can't she go outside? Wait, why can't she go outside? I'll be what... I'll be watching from the hall. I can open one of the windows facing the courtyard. Still, you need to be careful. You can't spend too much time in the sun. Wait, I take it these dudes don't have super pale skin then? And because Michel has very pale skin, is more can't handle going out in even normal sunlight. It's like very vampire-esque. I know. Or is that just the excuse that they give so that they hide Michel from the world? Ah, there. Okay, those were the brothers. Okay. I had 2 older brothers. The eldest, Didier, belonged to an order of knights that served the church. And below him was Georges, who served as a court artist. He was, in all likelihood, who would inherit the family estate, as knights were not formally allowed to own property. Wait, so Georges would get... Knights weren't allowed to own property? What? Nevertheless, the Bollinger family name was upheld by Didier. And then there was me, the youngest, the only daughter. Physically, I was not in particularly good health. Because of the colour of my skin, I was hypersensitive to sunlight. Ah yes. I rarely left the estate. My world was contained entirely within these walls. Which kinda sucks, because even when you were sent to the mansion, even though you had an element of freedom, you're still constrained to the mansion. Or at least you never chose to go outside. But that was probably because the family said that you cannot go out and about willy-nilly, and that's why they had a guard there, so that if you did run away, he would come after you. And perhaps out of some sense of pity or compassion, my 2 brothers spent a good deal of time with me. I mean, that's nice. Didier played chess with me, and Georges taught me how to draw. That's cool. And among other things, they taught me how to read and write. Ah, yeah, back in those times, if you were a woman, I guess they wouldn't teach you any of these things. This is why Michel was so surprised by Giselle being able to read. Maybe this is part of the reason why Michel was so attracted to Giselle. She has a fiery spirit, a lot more independent in a lot of ways. A lot more extroverted than Michel is. Michel is. Interesting. For a girl, I was incredibly fortunate. The one thing I wasn't allowed to do, though, was hold a sword. We haven't... Did Michel fight off the guards with a sword at the end, I think? Before Michel was killed. Did he have a sword? When he was stabbed by all those guys, I can't remember if he took up a sword for that. Because I've never heard... I don't think I've ever heard or seen Michel use a sword in any of the stories before, besides maybe at that point. While hardly anything unusual, it bothered me deeply. And it had for as long as I could remember. If I had been told I couldn't do it because I lacked the strength, I probably would have accepted it. But the reason given was not that I was weak, but that I was a girl. And with each passing year, that smouldering frustration in the back of my heart grew larger. Come on, put your back into it. Like I said, all I want is to put on a good show. Oh, you put on quite a show. Unless you learn how to swing that sword properly. Give me a break. I do like these portrait pictures though. And Michel looks stunning as usual, to be fair. So does Didier, and it's very different though. The very fair-haired Didier and the very dark-haired Georges, like Michel's fair hair and Giselle's dark hair. Interesting contrast. Interesting family setup. I wonder if the mother, Michel's mother, is fair haired and the father, Antonin, is like dark haired. But then you'd think most of the kids would be dark. Anyway. Out in the garden, my two brothers traded swings bare-chested. That's brave. All I could do, though, was observe from afar. And every time I found myself forced to watch, I felt a sharp pain like a needle piercing my chest. A needle that seemed to be growing ever thicker. My mother and my brothers loved me dearly, but that didn't change the fact that the outside world lay beyond my reach. I was trapped in the estate by my own body. At first I thought that was the root of my pain, but that answer seemed to contradict something inside me, something I couldn't explain, something I couldn't ignore even as a child. So I searched within myself, trying to find an explanation for the constantly swelling sensation of wrongness inside me. Day after day I gazed into the cavern of my own heart. My, now what are you two of them doing out there? Georges was asked to do a swordmanship show at the royal court, so Didier is helping him. Swordmanship? Oh, I just can't stand those shows. Blades are so dangerous, I can't watch people swinging them at each other. Mum, you suck. Why don't you come back to your room with me, Michel? I'd love to teach you how to sew. Yeah, that is not patronizing as fuck. Having said that, I don't know how to sew. Maybe it is a good skill to have, but I've got a feeling that Michel is not interested. But Mom, I want to watch them practice. Michel. First of all, you need to watch how you speak, young lady. Mums. You do not call me Mum, you call me Mother. It's almost like Michel was born in the wrong time. This is what happens when you spend so much time around boys. They're her brothers though, man. As your mother, I don't approve of you playing chess or making art. What? A woman has no need for such skills. They will only make you look insolent. But I want you to grow up to be a respectable woman. That is my job and my dream as your mother. Now come. I would rather you looked at some fine embroidery with me than a couple of sweaty men. You're calling your sons a couple of sweaty... This is so... I mean... Yeah, Michel's mum kind of sucks. Yes, mother. You are my little girl after all. Ugh. I wonder if this wouldn't have been so much of an issue if there was more than one daughter. Because this mum that has a very traditional sense, a very old school sense, I mean it is the 1000s or whatever, of what a man and a woman should act like. She only has one daughter and she's like, I want you to be a perfect little angel. Having only two other older sons. I wonder if they had had a second daughter, if it would have been less of an issue potentially. Anyway, well, that isn't the case right now. So spending time with my mother was agonizing. Was it because her world was so isolated? Yeah, probably. Also, it's interesting how the text box style has subtly changed with the name in the center. It's always been like that. I'm pretty sure it was like the name would sit here. They've got this stylized thing with the name sitting in the center now, and the profile, the pictures are coming in at the side. Interesting, they've changed the style slightly. No, that wasn't it. Oh, her gentle voice, the sweet scent of her perfume. The way she constantly told me how much she loved me, and her diatribes about how wonderful it was to be a girl. Everything she did put so much pressure on me. But above all, she loved to say, "You are my little girl after all." And there was nothing strange about that at all. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw the daughter of a noble. That was who I was. So the only thing wrong was how I felt. But every time I was faced with the reality of who I was, my heart wavered. I had no interest in learning to embroider. I didn't understand why that was necessary. I knew what purpose it served. Everything she taught me I would need when I was wed off to some noble boy, and it was my responsibility to learn those things. It didn't feel right, though. I couldn't even accept the fact that one day I would be married. It was built on I was but an ominous shadow lurking in my future. I would have preferred ravaging the books in Didier's room than having a conversation with my mother. Tales of heroes of old and dauntless soldiers, military texts written by tacticians in the midst of war. Thinking about them set my heart aflutter. It made me think about my brother. He was training to be a knight. I envisioned armour flecked with rust, a long sword glimmering with the blood of savages. Soon I found myself in my fantasies, imagining how the sword would feel in my hands, the sensation of the hilt beneath my fingers, swinging it gallantly like my brother. I will say though, that picture, that idea you have of war is very fantastical, but the reality is pretty different, pretty grim. But the other issue is not just that Michelle's being treated like a quote-unquote girl for the time. Sorry, I'm just eating. The other main problem is Michelle's condition, or Michelle, say Michelle for when Michelle was all. Michelle's condition couldn't even allow them to be outside. So that was another issue. Had Michelle been born with a man's body, it would still have been an issue. And there would have been still be, well, I don't know if there's jealousy here, but there would definitely have been jealousy. So doubly, so Michelle had been doubly hampered by A, being born with a girl's body, and B, having a what's the word for it? I don't want to say delicate. A weakened body that can't sustain going outside like your average person. How heavy was it? How much muscle would I need to carry? How much impact would I feel in my hands when I struck something? How restricted would my vision be wearing a helmet? Pretty restricted. It would be cool to wear a helmet. I've never actually worn a full-on helmet before. How much did it weigh? How hot was it inside? I had no way of answering any of those questions though. Can you just nick Didier's armour and play around with it? Doesn't your mum go on trips or something? Do it while mum's away. Ha! Kill me now! I have some cloth if I have some cloth if you'd like to wipe yourself off. Oh yeah, thanks. Ugh, I'm so dead. You were at it for a long time. I've never known D to half-ass something once he gets started, which I guess is what makes him knight material, but... Are you opposed to him becoming a knight? Well, you know, I kinda assume he'd inherit the estate and handle taking care of everything. You're such a fucking... I don't want to do any of that shit. I want to be carefree. So it's like, why has he got to go and be some priest's whipping boy? Wait, I kind of like George's. It's kind of funny. Don't tell him I said that though. He wants to fight for the greater good. I don't know. Despite the name, he wouldn't be doing much fighting himself. Anywho, someone as passionate as him might be able to make changes for the better. Changes? He knows what condition the order's in. That's why he's joining. Figure he wants to whip him into shape, melt him down and reforge the whole thing. Huh. So he might be able to change things. What? What are you muttering about, Michel? Hey, hold it! The pain I felt in my chest when I smelled the sweat emanating from George's body, when I looked at his slender but distinctly male build. I was convinced it was admiration. Did I want to become a knight too? Maybe the discomfort I felt was because I wanted to be like him. But it'd all go away if he were able to change the rules and I could join the order as well. I was positive it would. Didier? Michel, hold on. You can't come barging into my room unannounced. I'm trying to change. I mean, that is pretty rude, whether you're brother or sister. Don't you barge in and your sibling changing. We need to talk. I said stop. You're a girl. Can't just walk in on a man as he's changing. Nah, I kind of disagree with Michel here. I'm like, yeah, I don't want my bro barging in on me when I'm changing. I know Diddy is just like, you're a girl, don't do that, but still. I see no reason for you to be so self-conscious. Listen to me, Michel. George just tells me you're planning to overhaul the order. He told you that? No, I hardly have such grand aspirations. Don't be coy. I believe you have what it takes to do it, Didier. What's gotten into you? You're unusually fiery today. So I want to ask you a favour. When you have enough influence in the order, I would like you to make me a knight too. Has Michel made it obvious to Didier in the past that they've wanted to become a knight? Because if this is coming out of left field for Didier, because Michel's never really mentioned this want before, this is going to be a bit of a surprise. You what? Yeah, I don't think Michel said this before. I'm tired of the way Mother treats me, always saying I can't do this or that because I'm a girl. I want to learn how to swing a sword. I don't want to do embroidery. Nah, no one wants to, man. It sucks. Well, okay, some people might. I don't care about jewellery or fancy clothing. Put me in armour, give me a sword, and let me fight the savages. Yeah! Michel, what's gotten into you? I'm so much more interested in the world you live in, Didier. So please. Well, I'll be. I suppose we must have let ourselves spend too much time with you. What are you talking about? I mean, as her brother, or as their brother, as a brother, nothing wrong with spending time with your siblings. I wouldn't blame that on them. I mean, yeah, maybe you look up to your elder siblings. I don't think that's made Michel think this. But he's going to say that, isn't he? No, you too. Not you. Not you too. That's exactly what Mother said. First of all, Michel, you don't have the strength to hold a sword. That is a good point, to be fair. Then I'll train until I do. And if that doesn't work, I'll still have my mind. Yeah, you could be a tactician. You know good and well I could. People are not chess pieces, Michel. That is also true. But Didier. But above all, you're missing the most important point. Yeah, here it comes. I will not, for any reason, become the kind of man who makes a woman take up a sword. I get where he's coming from, but he's not making a woman take up a sword. Michel wants to fight. Didier. This may seem normal to you, growing up with two brothers. But I want you to listen to me, Michel. Live a life of shittiness and embroider stuff and sew clothes. Be a wife. While I go and go and fight and probably die early, but... Men and women walk different paths. Men wield swords and fight against dangerous enemies. No. Nowadays men just do that in their in their dreams. In reality, I don't know. And they do so to protect the weak, women and children. Weak, ha ha ha. I am here to protect you and your mother. Do you not see these scars? I am badass. Wait, is he not even a knight yet? Why has he got scars on his head when he's not even, like, became a knight? Is that just from training? Also, why does he look like he's... If he's not a knight yet, he must be maybe late teens, early 20s. Why does he look like he's fucking in his mid-30s or something? You're no different than her. You don't treat me any different than her. Honestly, what's gotten into you, Michel? Why wouldn't I treat you like a daughter of the Bollinger estate? Your brother and I, we were never meant to make you think. Forget it. What? I'm sorry, I knew what I was asking was foolish. Oh. But I thought you would understand how I feel. Even just a little bit. But was I expecting him to understand? Even I didn't understand the things I felt. I wanted to know what had gotten into me far more than he did. What I had done was no better than throw a temper tantrum. Oh, fair enough. I mean, it was putting Diddy on the spot if he had not really suspected any of this beforehand. Was I that desperate to become a knight? No. I had just thought that the key to the chains in my heart lay down that road, but ultimately there was nothing. Assuming Didier had agreed, and assuming I did become a knight, it wouldn't do anything for the core problem. As I dashed from my brother's room, I snuck a peek at him. So as you were running away, you snuck a peek? Fair enough, that's pretty difficult. His face was filled with intense perplexity. Yeah, and how could I blame him? I had tried to push a dozen different ideals onto him at once, filled myself with the vain hope that he would somehow be able to make sense of me when I couldn't even make sense of myself. And now, bubbling with unwarranted anger at being let down, I fled to my own chambers. I can only imagine how frustrating that must have been for him. Yeah, I don't know how I would have handled that. I would have just like, what? I'm not equipped to handle stuff like this. I'm a shit sibling anyway, so either way. It was the spring of my 14th year. Heavy clouds filled the sky, blocking out the sun, giving the impression of late evening all throughout the day. I, for one, preferred it when the sun wasn't out. I know that feeling, but I feel that for you it's a lot more of a thing. Not that sunlight would kill me, but if it was bright enough, the whole world was so white I could hardly see a thing. Oh! Does your eyesight get affected because of... Does it lack colouring and that's why it's red? Which meant I could only go outside on days when the weather made most everyone else gloomy. As I was meandering through the courtyard. Who's this? I spotted someone I had never seen before. A warm breeze blew past, sending up a swirl of flower petals. The girl's dress hung lightly over her frame, tracing her gentle curves. Wait, who the hell is this? Who are you? I asked bluntly, and the girl twirled around, smiling. My apologies. You just have such a beautiful courtyard here. I let myself in for a little walk. You what the fuck? You just walked into someone else's land? Tut tut tut, Amy. Long, chestnut hair flowed over around feminine shoulders. It swayed slightly in the wind. The cloud of melancholy dissipated in the light of her smile. You must be Michel. Oh wait, you know who she is. The family, fair enough. You're just as pretty as I heard. And you are? My name is Amy. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Finally meet me? What was she talking about? As I stood there baffled by this strange woman, she stepped toward me, kissing me softly on the cheek. I'm thrilled to make your acquaintance, Michel. Her voice was like someone pouring honey into my ear, electrifyingly sweet. Oh, I'm George's fiancé. Did he not get a fiancé, or did the knights not get married? I don't know how it works here. And it also... did you not know that he was getting a fiancé and you've never met his fiancé till now? I mean, this is a weird way to first meet your sibling's fiancé. Did Michel fall in love and then have it crushed in like record time? Ah, to be young. Stuck another needle into my chest. Oh, I don't know how this is going to end though. She was a noble girl by the name of Amy Gilbert. Though only 15, what the fuck? Though only 15, she was the very image, refined, polished to a shine. No one had told me my brother was to be married. I bet you no one told him either. It came out of nowhere, and it seemed I was the only one who didn't know. Ah, I suppose they didn't think it was relevant. Nah, man, this family, this is... That evening, when the family gathered around the table for supper, Amy was there too, and they prepared an extravagant feast for the occasion. My father Antonin looked so proud of his two boys, Didier soon to receive his assignment, and Georges soon to be wed. The banquet proceeded smoothly, not a doubt in the air that we were a happy family. But my mind was elsewhere. I found myself unconsciously chasing Amy with my eyes. Oh, having the hots for your sibling's fiancé, not a good idea. This is not going to end well. Watching the way those slender fingers gripped her spoon, her full lips parting to allow a piece of fruit in. Oh, Michel, you got it bad. Her deep red tongue, visible for but the briefest of moments. This is not going to end well. The way all the muscles in her face seemed to relax in bliss as sweet juices seeped into her mouth. The way she spoke, so soft and gentle, letting each sound hang in the air just briefly before intoning the next. She was distinctly feminine, in a different way than my mother. Yeah, your mother seems a bit... Apparently, Amy was going to be living at the Bollinger estate for some time. I mean, I would assume that if she's engaged. Mother was pleased to have another girl around. Or more specifically, she was relieved to have found someone other than my brothers for me to spend time with. They're going to be forced to spend time with Amy and they're already falling in love, and this is going to end up really bad. Wait, Georges? So maybe... Could it be that Georges was the one that sent the men to kill? That would have been sent to kill Michel. Because... Could something have happened between Michel and Amy? I had assumed I would hate being around another girl. Surely she wouldn't be able to play chess after all. But for some reason, I felt much less suffocated around her than my mother. One night, Amy's family and an array of nobles from both houses, social circles, assembled at the estate for a party. A din the likes of which I had never heard in my life filled the great hall. Every day, everywhere I looked, there were people. Servants scrambled every which way. Silverware clanged against dishes in an almost constant hum. Voices from all directions. I felt moderately ill. I know that feeling. Hey Dee, I feel like we're critically short on waiters. This don't look good for us. And who was it who went about inviting everyone he came across again? Who are those people? They're artists like me. I met them at the court. Let's see, we have some painters, composers, sculptors, troubadours, poets, writers, you name it. None of them have any connection to the Jouberts or Bollingers. Sure they do, they're my friends. And you know, this is me and Amy's party. You can play with your friends elsewhere. I hope you realise we have a reputation to uphold. Off in one corner, several men, presumably George's friends, gathered in a circle. They stood out from the other aristocrats, both in appearance and the air they gave off. The clothes they wore, the embroidery hidden beneath their jacket cuffs. Their manner of speech, the way they held themselves. They were, simply put, a far cry from the hard-headed Didier's ideal party guests. Even watching them from afar, it was clear my two brothers ran in very different crowds. The only reason headstrong Didier and free-spirited Georges were able to get along at all was because they were brothers. Yeah, if they had been strangers, I doubt their paths would cross much, and if they did, those intersections would be quite rocky. Hey, come here, guys! George's shouting voice pulled my preoccupied mind back to the surface. He summoned his friends, then led them to where I stood. What are you doing hiding in the corridor, Michel? I didn't even notice you. Allow me to introduce you to a few of my friends. No. No, thank you. Oh, no, I... George has put his hands on my shoulders, peeling me off the wall and standing me in front of his male friends. Yeah, this is not going to end well. I'm feeling the freaking... Socialization was the last thing on my mind. I searched for Didier, hoping he would come to my rescue, but he was off trading pleasantries, facing away from me. This is my baby sister, Michel. Be nice. Georges, I don't... Graces, your skin's even more pale than I imagined. It's like something out of a fairy tale. And why have you never brought her with you to the court? She'd be a sure hit. And how old are you now? 12, mayhap? Now, don't treat the lady like a child. I'll have you know she's 14. Oh my god. Georges, what the fuck are you doing? All the more reason she should be out there making friends. This sounds dodgy. The whole court flip if they knew you had such a gorgeous sister, Georges. Don't be a brute, my man. Our little angel has to be kept inside for personal reasons. Wait, are they not going to just say that the sun burns her skin or something? Or that? Is there something else they're not saying? Because I don't see an issue with Georges being like, she's too delicate or something to go outside, her skin is so pale. But why just hide it under personal reasons? Oh, sounds like I haven't been showing the lady her due respect. I've yet to even properly introduce myself. How rude indeed. Cringe. Their laughs grated on my nerves. And so did the way Georges spoke as though I was his property. Yeah, that's stuff. Is that not... That's bad. They looked like they were appraising me, which made me sick to my stomach. I had been paying enough attention to notice the man who had asked if I was 12, and the rest of them too, examining me from head to toe in search of curves. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not... yeah, that sucks. I was indeed underdeveloped for 14. I mean, what is whatever. But what did that matter? I didn't want a body shaped like Amy's or my mother's. Now then, my lady, a proper greeting. The man got down on one knee before me. For a split second, I didn't comprehend what he was doing. Wait, what is he doing? Go on, Michel. He's waiting. Oh, do you have to kiss his hand? Oh, no. He whispered into my ear. That was when it all came back to me. The traditional greeting performed between a man and a woman. No, I think you just have to take the guy's hand. Please just be that you have to take the guy's hand. Come on, Michel, don't tell me you forgot what to do. I knew the process. I had that knowledge. Mother taught me the rules, showed me the procedure. I was to present my hand to the man. Oh, he kisses your hand. Blah, blah. Some randomer kissing my hand. Forget that shit. Yeah, that's a fit. All I had to do was hold out my hand, but I was frozen. My body fought tooth and nail against the simple act. The thought of that man putting his lips on my skin sent a chill through me. Can relate to that. Why? Why was this a traditional greeting? Why did I have to go through this? Michel. But at the sound of George's frantic voice, my arm creeped up from my side. Then I remembered that despite being his friends, they were still nobility. Are they? I thought they were just his artist friends. Doesn't necessarily mean they're nobles. As wanton as his social interactions may have been, he still had a reputation to maintain. And I understood that. I also understood that, as their sister, it was my responsibility not to do anything that might tarnish either of my brothers' names. Also, by tradition, the man wasn't supposed to actually kiss the woman's hand. Oh. Okay, what, they're just supposed to hold the hand, bow a bit, and then walk away? The proper way to do it required he simply mimic the act, rather than make real contact. Oh, okay. That's still gross. That much I could handle. The man kneeling before me gave an uncomfortable chuckle at my reluctance. I mean, I get that as well. Shrugged and irreverently took my hand in his. And then... Oh. He pressed his lips firmly against my skin. Gross! There was a vaguely warm sensation in the back of my hand for the briefest moment. What do you... Ooh. Reflexively, I smacked the man's hand away. George's eyes went wide in horror and the man gave another playful shrug. I was merely offering you a greeting, my lady. Or is even that a new experience to you? Your innocence is truly precious. Yeah, this sucks. I was half a second away from throwing a barrage of insults, but I bit my tongue and stomped off instead. What? Michel? Come back, Michel. Do your brothers not really understand what Michel is like and that this is just like a lot? I mean, they are Michel's brothers, right? They would have an understanding of what their sibling is like and that they don't like, they're not used to socializing. There's a shit ton of people there, and maybe I shouldn't bring them out in front of everyone and make them have their hand kissed by some randomer. I guess they don't pay attention to that shit. I'd spent all that time convincing myself I couldn't humiliate my brothers, but now I wouldn't hear a word of it. I had drawn a fair bit of attention, and other people tried to stop me too. But I brushed them all off, marching my way out of the Great Hall. I feel so dirty. You call that a greeting? No, that was no greeting. That was... I'll be taking that. I say, practically swiping a glass of water off a passing waiter's tray. With it, I washed my hand by the window facing the courtyard. Wait a minute. I'm trying to figure out how Michel ends up being stuck in the mansion from all of this. Right, anyway. But no matter how much water I poured over it, I couldn't erase the sickening sensation of his mouth on my hand. So I rubbed it with my sleeve until my skin was bright red. You know, this is making me think it's interesting how Giselle, because of what Giselle had gone through, Giselle was very reluctant. Well, she wanted to be held by Michel, but she was very reluctant to be. And it's kind of interesting because with Michel, Mikel, I'm assuming that would have been the same thing as well. Mikel would probably be reluctant to be touched physically, especially after some of these experiences he had when he was younger. I wanted to feel something else, anything else, even pain. Think before you act. Think before you act, Georges. What were you doing inviting people like that into our home? I was angry and I had every right to be. He had not performed the proper greeting. Even in jest, he had no business actually putting his lips on my hand. It was not acceptable behaviour for an aristocrat. He was a guest. He should have been ashamed. Yeah, that guy was an asshole. Was I angry that he'd been disrespectful? No. No, that wasn't the reason. It was. That wasn't very nice of you, running off like, what the fuck? This guy is freaking get lost. At the sound of his voice, I couldn't turn back. I felt a sickening warmth almost directly against my back. Oh my god. The man from the Great Hall grabbed me by the wrist, spun me around and pressed me against the wall. The bitter scent of wine wafted from above. What the hell are you doing? I tried a second time to get away from him, and that was when reality sunk in. I couldn't do it. All the strength I could muster wasn't enough to make the man's hand budge. My arms were locked in place. I didn't think he was especially strong either. He was hardly built like Didier, and still I couldn't move an inch. You've got a tongue like a boy, milady. But I know some people are fond of that these days. Can't say I mind myself. I don't like this. Let go! Had it always been this feeble? Were my arms truly so worthless I couldn't even escape this brute's grip? Why did I have to get stuck with this body? Now, just so we're clear, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm no monster. What the fuck? One second, let me just take a bite of something to eat. This is going to be something. I do not like where this is going. I suppose this is we're going to be shown the full story, and this is part of the story as well. What Michel has been hiding in his heart. Then why are you holding me against the wall? Because I want a chance to try and woo you. Fuck off. I apologise if I made you uncomfortable back there, but the second I laid eyes on you, I knew you were a keeper. Then let go of me. But if I do that, you'll run away. Yeah, that's usually an indication, mate, that you should stop. And it's my personal rule to never let go of anything I like. Fuck this person. Your brother says you can't go outside, so if I set you loose now, I might never get a chance to catch you again. I wanted to vomit. Apparently taking my silence for approval, the man perked up and kept going. If you're not accustomed to being around men, then why not use this as an opportunity to get familiar? Not a half bad idea if I do say so myself. And I think we'd go along quite well. Besides, I'm a minstrel. Oh, you're a musician. Well done. Spend some time with me and I'll write you all the songs you could possibly want. Get away from me. Ah, you really do have the most striking eyes. Makes me want to keep them all for myself. With a muse like that, I could write the most incredible songs you've ever heard. I'm sure you can, mate. I said get back, you creep. Huh? That's odd. That one's never failed me. Wait, what? That fucking works with anyone? The man brought his face in just inches from mine and peered into my eyes. I could feel his hot, wine-stenched breath against my cheeks. It gave me the chills. I couldn't understand why this was happening to me. Panic and confusion had my heart racing. Go try your luck with someone else. I'm not interested. You will be soon enough, darling. You've simply never known a man's touch. Fuck this guy. He drew closer. Where the fuck is the brother? He drew closer. He was already practically on top of me, but still he closed in. Closer and closer. The world faded out. I couldn't see anything. What was he? I could feel his rising body heat so near it made me nauseous. My eyes flung open, but there was nothing there. I only felt. I could only feel. I couldn't move. My body wouldn't budge. In my mind, I kicked the man away, pulled my fist back and slammed it into his jaw. Again and again and again until his face was unrecognizable. Again and again and again and again I beat him, but reality would have none of that. Michel! What do you think you're doing? 3 seconds, 10 seconds, longer. I had no idea how much time I had lost, but the next thing I knew, Georges had the man by the collar. I fell back against the wall, staring absent-mindedly as the two struggled. They traded blows and they traded insults. Before long they had drawn a crowd. While they went at it, I distractedly drifted away, and I only had one place to go. I didn't even bother to light a candle. I just stared into the darkness. My heartbeat was maddeningly loud in my otherwise silent chambers. What had happened? What had he done to me? Why? Why couldn't I do anything? The last thing I wanted to do was cry. Tears would only serve to worsen my humiliation, only magnify how wretched I was, only make me more effete. I bit down my lip hard. I had no need for that trash on my body. I dug my nails into my arms. I had no need for that trash on my body. All of this, every last bit of it, that was why I was the way I was. I didn't know how to put it into words. I didn't know how to express this boundless frustration within me, but after enough wordless groaning, a single word slipped from my lips, and it felt incredibly right. God damn it. I knew good and well a girl should not be using such words. Even Didier and Georges would have gotten an earful from mother or father if they were caught saying that. Regardless. God damn it! It was the most fitting word I could come up with to represent even the smallest bit of my anger and loathing. I knew all I was doing was shifting the blame, that all it would accomplish was making me look pitiful. But I would take that over crying like a girl any day. Ha! I let loose a sigh that was halfway to being a scream, then started clawing wildly at my hair. I wanted to yank out every last damn strand of it. I didn't want it. I didn't want any of it, any of this body. But in that case, what did I want from my body? Michel, may I come in, Michel? It was George's voice, slightly muffled through the door. The man who had invited those people into this house. I'd be lying if I said I didn't hold that against him. Michel. But at the same time, he had also come to my rescue. Besides, I hated myself the most. I despised myself for being so helpless. I'm sorry, Michel. I didn't mean to hurt you. It's not locked. After a few moments of silence, Georges stepped into my room. Your hair is a mess, Michel. And my God, you're bleeding. That was when I first noticed a stinging sensation in my lower lip. A metallic taste spread through my mouth. I had been biting it much harder than I realised, and there was a lot more blood than I expected. A trail of it was running down my chin, seconds from spilling onto my clothes when Georges wiped it away. I'm really sorry, Michel. He can be a real ass when he drinks. Why the fuck would you introduce your... That's your excuse? He can be an ass when he drinks? And he's a bit of a womanizer. That you knew he was a womanizer, and you introduced your young sister to the asshole, and then you are like, yeah, greet him properly. The guy who you know is a womanizer. You're an ass, Georges. I never expected you to try to go after you, though. Why not? I'm really sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. But, you know, there's a chance he may have genuinely taken a liking to you. That just makes it worse. Sorry. You're right. You want to be with a man you like, I understand. What the fuck is this? I understand. You want to be with a man, of course. What the fuck? He ran his hands through my hair as if trying to calm me down, at the same time cleaning up the mess I had made of it. It made me feel like I was some kind of plaything. A joke of a doll. I don't. Huh? I don't want to be with anyone. I would never ever be comfortable with a man putting his hands on me like that. However, I'm sure you'll find someone eventually, Michel. Someone that feels right for you. I feel kind of awful for you feel kind of awful for introducing you to him, but what? But there are plenty of men in the world. You might not be interested now, but that'll change soon. It's part of growing up. You'd be best off forgetting today ever happened. Wow. 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 I was dead certain, but apparently that wasn't enough to convince him. The very idea that I might one day meet a man who I wanted to touch made my skin crawl. Why? Why did I feel like this? Was I just not interested in men? No. If that were the case, I wouldn't admire my brother's bodies. Yeah, but that's a different admiration. I didn't have an aversion to men. In fact, I enjoyed spending time with my brothers far more than indulging my mother and her woman's world. What I couldn't stand was the particular look men would sometimes give me. But why? Why did I not like that? Because, well, I had no answer. My thoughts were only going in circles. Are you okay, Michel? He peered down at me, his face twisted in concern. You know, I always thought that Michel was pretty tall, right? Am I wrong? I don't know why I got that impression, because when we meet Michel as Giselle, or as the, or in the previous stories, Michel, he always seems quite intimidatingly tall. But I feel like, I mean, granted, Michel at this age is only, 14, so shorter than their brothers, but I don't know, like, maybe I was misinterpreting. Maybe Michel is not that tall. Anyway, he peered down at me, his face twisted in concern, but I couldn't answer him. How was I supposed to articulate this? My anger, my frustration, my irritation, my fear. I had no confidence he would understand. Georges, how's Michel? Amy's voice came from the doorway. Inexplicably, I felt like someone had struck their hand in my chest and was now squeezing my heart, like I had just been caught in a compromising situation by the last person I wanted to see me. Ah, yeah, she's doing good, aren't you? Yes, I'm fine. Glad to hear it. I was clearly lying, not even looking him in the eyes when I'd said that, but that seemed to have gone over George's head. Amy, on the other hand, you don't look fine at all, she said, a hint of pain in her voice, and then entered the room. Georges, Father was asking for you. He says it's time to bring the gathering to a close. You should get going. I'll stay here with her. Oh, is he? All right then. Sounds good. Once the sound of George's footsteps had faded into nothing, Amy took a seat beside me, without warning, wrapped her arms around my shoulders. It's much better to talk to another girl at times like this. My heart leapt into my throat, but beyond the shock, I also found myself welcoming the warmth. It was pleasant, unlike the man's. It must have been terrifying, but don't worry, you're safe now. It wasn't really, no. No need to pretend, sweetie. If a man had me pinned against a wall, I'd be scared too. I mean it. I wasn't scared. I'm just disappointed in myself. All right, I believe you. You're a strong girl, Michel. There aren't many who wouldn't have been scared. I'll be sure to give Georges a stern talking to about his choice in friends. Something I learned today is that he's somewhat of a pushover. You're a lot more tenacious than I thought. As a woman in this world, you have to be. And if you're not, well, you'll figure it out soon enough, Michel. Of course, even as strong as you are, I'm sure it'll still be difficult to forget what happened to you today. Georges had told me to forget it as soon as possible, and Amy that I wouldn't be able to. Was it the difference in their individual perspectives, or was it the difference between the way men and women thought? I wasn't sure. As my head rested against her breast, a bit of my frustration slipped out. I couldn't move my arms at all. He didn't even seem all that strong. I couldn't believe that I was really so weak. That's just the way the world the way of the world, Michel. Men are physically stronger than women, and you'll almost never overpower one. You're not any weaker than a normal girl. Don't blame yourself. Though it wasn't the consolation I had hoped for, her words still filled me with warmth. I had exploited my own weakness to hear more of that soothing voice, and I alone knew how foolish I was in doing so. I think I'm going to leave it there for today. Let me just make sure that I've saved. Quite like this tune. Let's go to, wait, it's not here. Config. Title. So, that was a big revelation. One that I should have seen coming, but I don't know. I got distracted with everything else that was going on with Giselle. That I kind of put it to the side, and now it's kind of came to the fore that Michel was born a woman, and I don't know what the curse is though exactly. That because seeing yourself as a man. I don't know how that would be related to as a curse by the family. Because they were saying that everyone that well, at least what Michel would say in the previous stories was that anyone that would touch me would be cursed. And I wonder if that relates to what actually was about what happened to Michel growing up. But anyway, food for thought. This is definitely taking me by surprise. I wasn't expecting this, so yeah, we'll leave it there on that crazy note as Amy starts to visit more Michel, or Michel, as Michel was known at the time, more and more. Michel having been, so the other revelation was Michel was the white-haired girl, which I thought was the case, but they made it sound like Michel wasn't, because the white-haired girl couldn't remember anything when they met Giselle. But in reality, Michel and the white-haired girl are the same. And every time the white-haired girl came to see Giselle over the hundreds of years that Giselle had to wait, Michel never acknowledged Giselle. And I'm wondering if the reason for that is because Michel didn't want, like, Michel, if Michel did recognize Giselle all those times, but Michel didn't choose to say to Giselle that they recognize her, because he didn't want her to see Michel as a woman. Like, Michel was actively pretending not to recognize Giselle, which seems a bit too much. But if that is the case, and that's, I mean, maybe this is what Giselle is thinking just now. Though I didn't like Giselle's reaction of "you're disgusting." That hurt my soul. I didn't expect Giselle to kind of react like that, but I don't know what that was referring to exactly. If it was the fact that Michel has a woman's body, or if it's to do with the fact that Giselle suspects that Michel, who appeared many times before, chose to not acknowledge Giselle all those times, just because of the fear that Michel might have had of Giselle not accepting them, or something. A lot to think about. Oof, this was a heavy part of the playthrough. But and I apologise for some of the munching and all that. I was eating my lunch at the time as well. But yeah, on that note, I'll leave it there. This was the house in Fata Morgana. I am Ash Mannix, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.